You two should put on some boxing gloves and get in the octagon. And Beavis without hesitation said, "Oh, I would love that." So that probably says everything you need to know about that.
Look, any one of you three wants to be a guest on the pod and explain your side.
Pop, what's going on, man?
Got a little road game going on this week.
Yeah, from a land far, far away, bringing you the Dama Pop podcast. I'm still here in California, but Pop is elsewhere right
Nothing will
now.
stop us. Got
No
to get it
official
out for the
confirmation
people.
on his location. Are you on the land, Pop?
I
Are
might
you on the
be.
land?
I don't
Did Ron
know.
Rivera,
I'm
Rivera come
afraid of
after
all
you,
the Twitter beefing that's happening, but we'll get into that
man?
later.
Some Caleb Williams haters come after you because
I
of your
gotta go
tweets?
into hiding because of the way Tom's been running our Twitter page.
Oh man, Pop's on the lamb. Well, to our people, this happens every 8 or 9 months. You got to go away for about 6 weeks, and then you come back.
That's
It's all
right.
good.
Lay low, baby.
It's all good. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. As soon as they let off, you go back. Anyways, uh, let's get right into it. Big news for today has got to be, um, if you're not concerned with Twitter drama, the big news for today has to be, and we're gonna get to that later. Don't you guys worry. Bringing back a classic segment to handle all that stuff. So stay tuned.
Fan
But
favorite.
big news Big news for today has got to be the Adam Peters press conference. Announced officially as general manager. Pop, did note, hey, we haven't seen the tweet yet, and then within I think an hour of our podcast coming out, we saw the tweet. So the Washington Brass, Jason Wright, he saw what we had to say, and he said, "Hold on, let's get this out.
Need to see
Let's make
something
this
official.
official."
That's
There's some
right.
doubt going around. So that's been that, and then of course we had the presser today. And I think, did he do some interviews as well, Pop?
He
I know he
did.
did the press conference. I didn't catch any of the interviews. But Pop, how are you feeling about Adam Peters? How are you feeling about that press conference? I don't know how much of it you caught while you're out on the lam. I don't know what the Wi-Fi is like out there,
I
but
saw it.
good stuff. So give me your impressions then from
Saw
the Adam
some of the
Peters press
interviews.
conference.
I mean, I think obviously he didn't, give up too much in terms of what his plans are, other than, he said that there are a lot of good pieces in place here and they need leadership, which I thought was,
Yeah,
pretty telling. Maybe that's the right thing to say in the moment. But it sounded like, I mean, he had basically called his shot with his agent and saying, I want the Washington jobs at the top of my list, which is
yeah,
exciting to hear. Even joked a little bit around about not putting himself in the best negotiating position with that. But that's the exciting part, is the fact that these top guys want to come here. I'm impressed with his tone. He just seems like a humble but confident leader. Um, and you like that. There's not that
yep,
self-importance or arrogance about him that you can find with people in those positions. Um, and he talked about doing things the right way. He talked about building through the draft, but supplementing that with free agency. I like all of that. Um, you know, Josh Harris, starting to see a lot more old Joshy boy here recently, and he's talked about how it was a no-brainer for him, no-brain hire. So, um, and then I think they're trying to make it a quick rebuild, similar to what Josh Harris said in his press conference, but doing it the right way. And I think that's the right way to make business decisions regardless of what you're doing. Right, make sure that you can. If it's possible to make decisions that'll get you quick results, do it. But also, make sure that it doesn't handicap you for out in the future, right? That it's always a decision that helps you with the future. So, how can you not be impressed? The thing that I feel, and I wonder your take on that, is that It just sucks that the season is 9 months away.
Oh yeah, I mean,
It sucks.
look, there's a positive and there's a negative to it. The positive side is we got the NFL draft, then we got minicamp. Then June, July sucks. Look, I'm not
I
going to
guess it's
sugarcoat it.
seven
June, July
months.
is no fun. June, July is no fun. But then you get training camp. And then once training camp hits, it's wheels up. You get in the daily podcast from the Beltway football guys, checking in on all your players. You're making all these proclamations about guys that you've never seen play a snap of football, but you're having a blast with it. I think at this point, the NFL is such a year-round product. I mean, I was thinking back to when we covered the NFL draft for the first time, and I was texting you saying, I've never had this much fun watching the NFL draft before. And now I look forward to that every year the same way I look forward to the Super Bowl and the playoffs and kicking off the season. So I'm excited to see. I'm going to savor this, frankly, this offseason with Peters and with hopefully Ben Johnson, Bobby Slowick, whoever our new head coach is. I'm going to savor this because I can't wait to just watch piece by piece the way he builds this team. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. It might take 2, 3 seasons. It might take an entire offseason of right moves and then another entire offseason of right. But I'm excited to watch all of it step by step unfold. Maybe that's because I'm a sicko and I understand I can't wait to actually watch this team play some football. But I think it's just going to be so fun to watch it all unfold. And I think
Yeah, you never.
there's,
It's funny. You don't know how you're going to react in situations, and I just feel very impatient. I had such an unsatisfied taste in my
I
mouth
agree.
coming out of this season, and it felt like it took forever for the season to end, and then Ron Rivera, to be let go, and then now, great news, and I'm excited about it. But I'm not real patient about wanting to know what's next and those next steps. And time flies. Um, I think it's actually closer to 7 months and 9 months away if we don't count the month of January. But it just seems like an eternity till the
Yeah.
season starts, and we can actually see, the results of what is that roster going to look like. Um, are
Yeah.
we going to draft a QB, or he played his cards pretty tight there in terms of his strategy around, quarterback or draft or all those things, which is the
Well, you
smart
have
thing to
to,
do.
right? You need
Which
the
is the smart
leverage.
thing to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's your overall thoughts or reactions? I mean, any particular quotes stand out or
Yeah, for me, the biggest quote that stands out in terms of like the impact that it's going to have on the team in the short term. I loved everything he said. Like I don't think he said one thing I disagreed with or one thing I didn't like. He talked about, there were a couple. What I loved that he said, and this I'm paraphrasing here. This isn't a direct quote. I'll give you a direct quote in a moment, but I'm paraphrasing this one. He said that, if you look back on those early years in San Francisco, it wasn't necessarily translating to wins yet, but you could feel that all the pieces were in the right place, and then the
right?
product showed itself, and they were playing physical, hard football, and the excitement started to boil up, and the trajectory of the team kind of matched the way that excitement was boiling up, which I think is super important. And I think we've seen the excitement boil up around this team, and then the trajectory of the team just fall flat year after year after year. Every time it feels like we're starting to find something, we lose it every year.
That's a
So
great
that's
point.
how much I
That's a
like.
great point.
Um, and the point, because if we win, this is the tough news about it. We said this when Rivera took over too, right? When you win 4 games, if we win 8 games next year, if we win 8 games next year, that's real material improvement. That's serious improvement. And if we win 8 games playing hard nosed physical football, but we're just outmatched at a couple positions because you can't fix everything in one off season, I think the fan base is going to feel pretty good going into the next year. Um, the one quote that stuck out to me the most, and the reason why I'm so excited for this off season, and I'm not necessarily ready to rush through it yet, Peters' quote on the roster. He was asked what he thought the current state of the roster is, and he paused, and he kind of like he took it. You could tell he took a second to make sure he wasn't answering emotionally, because I think
Right.
what he wanted to say is, I keep about 4 of these guys. and we're going to
You're
overhaul the
projecting
whole thing.
now. That's not how
But
I
he
read that
said
at all.
his exact words. You're in the minority if that's not how you read it, from what I've seen on Twitter today. But his exact words were, "There are a few cornerstone pieces on this roster, and I believe we have a lot of work to do."
But don't you
And he
think
said,
saying cornerstone pieces that's a pretty strong statement, which it
"Right
means that there must
about."
be a couple of players he really, really likes.
Well, that's what I said. He keep about four of these guys. Deron Payne, Terry McLaurin,
But saying
maybe
cornerstone
John
pieces, that's a
Allen,
pretty
Sam
strong
Cosmi.
statement. You
It
would
is.
you
It is
you'd say
about.
good players. There's some good quality guys on this roster. You wouldn't say cornerstone.
I'm not saying that the individuals that he's pointed out, he's not high on. I'm just saying I don't think there's that many of them. I mean, we as
Yeah,
fans
I mean we know
probably can't
that.
name more than four or five. Well, that's
No,
exactly
we
what I
know
said.
that.
I said he'd probably keep about 4 or 5 if he had it his way tomorrow. Name 5 players. Name 5 players that are worth calling a
Oh,
cornerstone
I
right
could
now.
easily do that. B
Go
Rob,
ahead.
B Rob is worth keeping. Of course, Terry, definitely Deron Payne, a Cam Curl, um, Sam Cosby. You want me to
I'm
keep
not
going?
see
I could get at least 10 deep.
you're moving the goalposts on me.
How am I
You
moving
just
the goal?
said
You said, name
you
me
said you
5 players worth keeping.
oh
And I
god,
just rattled them off without even trying.
don't click off yet, please. That he's because
Oh, this is gold.
you said cornerstone pieces. You just said that means a lot more than good grade. Brian Robinson at this point in his career is not a cornerstone piece you build a football team around.
No, no, no.
Brian Robinson's a guy
You're.
worth
Look,
keeping.
look. We're going off the rails, but this is what you guys pay for. You
Anyway,
said
the
you're
next
great at twisting my words. You said there's only what he meant was only 4 or 5 guys worth keeping on this roster. I
the
said that he
next
said cornerstone pieces, which means there's got to be a couple of people on this roster that he thinks are
studs,
like stars or studs,
of
right?
course. And we
So
think that
saying that there's only 4 or 5 guys worth keeping on this roster is ridiculous.
okay. Glad 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 we glad you got
Are
that.
we beefing?
Glad
Are
you
we
got that.
doing this?
We might be because his next sentence was, "There's a lot of work to do," and
Of
in my
course
mind,
there is. They're four and fifth. What's
I
the
think
math? 4 and 13.
I think that means there's going to be major roster overhaul,
No
which I think
question
is what.
about it.
Okay, so we're saying the same thing. We're saying the
No, we're
same thing,
not.
guys. If you needed an insight into what the dinner table looks like, that's what it looks like. I'm glad you guys got to sit along for the ride, but. Yeah, I think there's going to be major roster overhaul. I look at a guy like Kendall Fuller or maybe a guy like Antonio Gibson, a guy that has performed well, but there are other guys around the league performing at the same level. He's nothing special, but is a good player. I think you're going to see guys like that not come back because I think Peters is going to want to get his
All
guys.
depends on the evaluation and the price. But I
100,
agree. I think
100%.
I think there's going to be. Look, you could have 20 guys worth keeping.
Yeah.
That's still 35 new players on the active roster, and then not to mention all the practice squad guys.
Yeah.
No, but I thought you nailed it. In terms of the approach there, and there's a lot to be encouraged by. And I liked what he said about building it the right way and getting the right
Yes.
kind of character guys. And I guess I was trying to ramble there so I could remember the point I wanted to make. And the point I wanted to make was yes, things are black and white in sports. If you're 7-10, you're 7-10. But there are 2 different kinds of 7-10. There's if you feel like the team's got a direction and it's got a true, you talked about wanting to have physical players and a physical team. And, you don't start the year saying, I want to be a run first team and then, hire a pass first coordinator. What is our identity? I guess that's the word I'm searching for. What's our identity of a team? And if you know the team's got an identity and maybe they've had some injuries or some unfortunate things, or maybe the coach isn't even performing up to speed or certain players, but the team has an identity and it has a direction. I think that can make you feel better about a 7-10 season than a 7-10 season where you're just not sure what that direction or identity really is. And you're seeing it shift and change and move around all the time. And I think that's what we've been dealing with. So I think as long as
Yeah,
the team has an identity and a clear direction, which, it seems like with this leadership group we're there. I mean, all signs are great. I mean, just go out and get Ben Johnson, and then we can really, feel great about
turn
things
this
and
thing
see
up.
how things
Yeah,
going forward, right?
yeah. There's a lot of talk about aligned vision, and collaboration, which I think are. I mean, you gotta have if you have a GM and a coach, and I've talked to some friends about just like growing their businesses and stuff like that, and I use this analogy. But you gotta have in order for things to work the right way, you gotta have that GM and coach in lockstep, right? The GM and the coach, they should be finishing each other's sentences. The GM should know what the coach needs in order for the coach to succeed almost better than the coach even knows. And the coach should have a clear direction from the GM on the direction this team is moving and what they need to succeed. And that has been the biggest thing I think that we've suffered from is the lack of continuity. And that's why we've had some great football minds. The Shanahans are great football minds. You cannot convince me Mike Shanahan did not know how to coach a football team when he came to DC. But we've had some great football minds leave here unsuccessful. I think Jay Gruden knows what he's doing,
I mean, we could do a we
right?
could we could do a whole podcast on ex
But the reason why it
Washington
hasn't
coaches,
worked,
but
the
Shanahan's had some
reason
flaws too.
the reason why it hasn't worked out, the common thread between all of them is they get here and then they are handicapped by
Well,
ownership not
I
wanting
mean,
to
look who
spend
was
money,
running our
ownership
organization.
making exactly. And
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say is, by all accounts, it seems like so far, and Peters is another example of that's not going to be the case anymore. We're going to have the general manager helping the coach. The coach is going to take the GM out to dinner when the GM brings in Christian McCaffrey. It's going to be that kind of situation. The coach is going to be grateful for the front office and for the assets that he's been given. And we're going to see talent on a coaching side from hopefully a Ben Johnson, not only
well,
reach
I'll
this
tell you,
potential,
and,
but
and
exceed it.
you're right, and it's a good philosophy. It is a difficult thing to navigate. I mean, even if those of you who remember, the great Joe Gibbs, and I'll play the old man card, and Bobby Beathard back in the day.
Of course.
There can start to be fractures, especially when a coach has a lot of success and the visions start to shift. But
Yeah.
I think when you have that foundation and you have that vision and you have that clear lead, in other words, the Redskins kind of shifted from a Bobby Beathard led group to a Joe Gibbs led group. Either way, you were in great hands. But no, I mean, I agree. We're saying it the same
Yeah.
thing. That it's all about that vision and leadership. See, that's the thing, right? We might beef a little bit here, but it all ends in harmony and love. That's the good
There
part.
it is. And
But
where
speaking
there's
of
not,
Washington coaches,
there you go. There it is. Where there's not a lot of harmony and love right now is
I
between
love this so much.
Jay Gruden, RG3, and Brian Mitchell. There is not much harmony and
This is
love
all
there
time.
at all. You know it, you love it. You guys missed it. It's been away for a while. We got to get back to it. The kick-offs of the week. It's finally the off season. We can kick our feet up, take a little time to enjoy it.
It's the
The
people
kick-offs of the
segment.
week. The people segment. There it is. And I tell you what, I was reading this in bed last night. I know for Pop, it was probably a little on the
I
a
just
little
saw
on the late
Jay
side.
Gruden trending. I hadn't got a chance because I'm, in hiding. I hadn't got the chance to check my Twitter account or
Yeah.
our Twitter account for a while. I saw Jay Gruden trending. I said, "What the hell is Jay Gruden trending for?" And that was
So
hilarious.
Jay Gruden, man, I would have killed for a BAC reading on Jay Gruden last night while he's tweeting all this. And I'll get into it. I'll get into it later. But I think Jay Gruden got to the bottom of the bottle at Maker's Mark and started feeling a certain type of way.
Uh,
He opened
I
up that little black X app and he
He's
started
been known to
causing some
like the
trouble.
funny cigarettes.
There it is. Yeah, yeah. He might have been. Is there confirmation as to whether or not he was outside a bar talking to a blonde lady while he was tweeting this? Do we
Let's
have
not go
confirmation
there.
on
Let's
that?
not go. Let's not go there. Reel it in,
Anyways,
son. Reel it in.
Anyways, he tweeted, "If I ever put a QB through what Philly is putting Jalen through, I apologize. Pick up a blitz." And there are a couple spaces where spaces shouldn't be. There's a it's a questionable looking composition there. Uh, and Brian Mitchell. Well, who do we want to start with? Do we want to start with B Mitch or do we want to start
No,
with
you got to
RG?
start. I mean, uh, RG3, claps back with a what? And they've actually kind of gone back and forth on Twitter a little bit already.
Yeah.
Previously, it was kind of a little bit mild manner, which I thought it was like also with Robert, like, let it go, man. Like, take
Well,
some
if there's a
ownership of
guy
what
that
went wrong with you. And the only thing I could clap back at Robert there for questioning Jay on that is Kirk didn't seem to have a problem running Jay's offense.
probably because Kirk didn't walk up to Mike Shanahan and say, "I'm not running the ball anymore."
Yeah.
But and the owner told me I don't have to. That's a different
Yeah.
conversation. Anyways, RG3 as usual feels the need to insert himself into anything having to do with Washington D.C. Um, and so he gets into that with him. They kind of go back and forth a little bit. Um, there was kind of a non thing between the two of them. Like it wasn't that. I didn't think it was as
Right.
crazy as B Mitch. B Mitch just tweets right at him and he says, "Are you serious? Dude, please just effing disappear." And Jay Gruden responds, and Jay Gruden says, "I are a punt returner, period. Be quiet, period." Which at that point, in my opinion, there was nothing Jay could say past that. He's just wrong. At that point, you're wrong because you disrespect one of the legends. And I know we're B Mitch and Finley fans. We don't make any secret of that on this pod. But I mean to reduce like the second greatest return man of all time, Super Bowl champion, did it here, did it in Philly, Pro Bowls, All Pros, you name it. This guy's got every accolade and a well respected media figure, and just say you are a punt returner and be so drunk you can't even find the U key on your keyboard. You hit I instead. Uh, Ridiculous. So Brian Mitchell comes back and says, "I was way better at all of my jobs than you were at any of yours. You were a joke." And Jay Gruden responded in the morning and said, and now there's no typos in the morning when he responded. And he said, "You have criticized every coach that has ever coached in DC. Why don't you coach? Punt return team would be sick."
That's pretty funny, though.
Which is kind of funny. He's
I
sticking
love
to his bit,
Beamish,
right?
but that's pretty funny.
He's sticking
I
to
think,
his
look,
bit.
I think they all had fault in this. I love Beamish,
Yeah,
and
B
I'm
Mitch
never
didn't
going to
need to
go up
express
against him, and
opinion either.
Beamish is going to come out strong. I think Beamish comes to the paint hard, and I know that I think there are some hard feelings there already in terms of,
Oh
I
yeah.
heard Jay, talk in the past a little bit about how critical B Mitchell it was of him. But anyway, it's just funny. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's
funny.
hilarious. It's
You
also
know,
funny to me
I
that
mean,
B
if you
Mitch.
really think about it, one, picking a social media battle with RG3, who absolutely loves social media and was
Oh man.
probably just had his feet up, going, "Honey, come look at this, come look at this."
Yeah.
Couldn't have
I
been
bet he
having
took
a
his wife
better
out to
time.
dinner tonight to
Probably a
celebrate.
bad idea on Jay's part. I think it's a
Yeah.
bad look for RG3 too. But I was kind of surprised that B Mitch would get involved, right?
Yeah.
Like, they obviously don't like each other. That
No,
much
that's
is
clear.
clear. Yeah,
That's
pretty
clear.
funny.
B Mitch did say today. I think Landfill said on B Mitch and Finley. He said you two should put on some boxing gloves and get in the octagon. And B Mitch, without hesitation, said, "Oh, I would love that." So that probably says everything you need to know about that.
Look, any one of you three wants to be a guest on the pod and explain your side of the story. We welcome all of you.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll let you break it down and tell you what. We'll take your side. You come on the podcast, man. I can't
So
believe
Jay,
he said that to
apparently,
you.
like, I think Jay Gruden skipped out on his he's supposed to have an appearance on Grant and Danny today. I think I read that, but he put his last, maybe the end of the segment, he put the boy that escalated quickly, uh, um,
The
GIF
meme.
from,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's pretty
Anchorman.
funny. Anchorman, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was
Ron
funny.
Burgundy, that's like Dominic. He just reads straight off you know, straight off the teleprompter sometimes. If I make a typo on the outline, we're in trouble. But you've been doing a little beefing on Twitter too. We probably don't
I
have
read
time
the
to get into it, but just I want people to know that Dom controls most of the Twitter accounts. So if you need to send letters,
I'm
any
running the Twitter account
complaints,
at this.
please address them to Dominic.
Yeah. That's fine. I want all the smoke. That's cool. That's cool. I
Boy gets
love
a
it.
little salty about his QB1 for the draft. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, we can. That's for a different podcast. I have some pretty strong opinions about all that for sure. Strong and correct
Check it out. Go
opinions,
check it
by
out
the
on
way.
our Twitter account.
Yeah, go check the Twitter account. Strong and correct are my opinions about that. But let's
Sorry,
should we get into
correct.
should we? Yeah, you know what they say, right? Opinions are like buttholes. Everybody has them. Most stink, but mine doesn't. That's what
Wow, I never
that's the
heard
saying.
that one.
That's the saying. Yeah. Well, the
All
amendment.
right, well,
Yeah.
what about we get into these playoff brackets and picks?
All right, enough butthole talk. Playoff brackets. Uh,
My goodness.
can we, can we say that? I really we're good. That's PG-13.
I'd
But
rather we didn't.
Bada Bets, playoff picks, the whole nine. Pop went 2-4 last week on the Bada. I went 3-3. We both picked Pittsburgh to cover. That didn't help. And then the Eagles and the Cowboys both got eliminated. What are your thoughts on the playoff reaction, Pop? How you feeling about all that?
I mean, it
About
was it
the
was
weekend?
definitely there's some unexpected things. I mean, none of the games are that great. None of
No, they
them were
weren't.
really close at the end.
Which can be
I
indicative
think
of the first weekend.
the Texans blowing out the Browns was pretty surprising. I mean, the Bucks just shellacking the Eagles and the Pack just
Wow.
killing the Cowboys. I mean, one, it was great to see. Yeah, there's a debate of whether or not you'd rather be a Cowboy fan and end every season with disappointment after a 12-win year, or whether or not you'd rather be a Washington fan. And I'll be honest, I never would want to be a Cowboy fan, but I'd much rather have my team end in the first round of the playoffs, but a 12-win season, because I'm going to be happy 12 of those weeks, and
Yeah.
doing that versus suffering through miserable 4-13 years. So look,
Oh,
it's fine. We could have a lot of fun with Cowboys fans, but I think it's a little difficult for us to talk too much trash, although we're going to do it anyway.
of course.
Given where we're at as a team, right?
Just wait, guys. Just wait. It's gonna work
I
out.
love it.
Just
But
uh,
you brought up a great point that there are fractures with both those organizations.
yeah,
So
this NFC Beast thing that was 2 years ago, the Beast is injured, is severely injured, and the Beast may
yeah,
not be what it was at all at this point. Yeah, the Cowboys and the Eagles are both imploding from within, and when that happens, anything can happen. Anything can happen. Neither one of those teams is on a positive trajectory right now, from the front office all the way down to the quarterbacks. Both
is
teams.
there any news with coaching changes there? I saw Jason Kelsey retired, but
Yeah, Jason Kelsey retired. The entire Philadelphia Eagles defense, it seems like, are free agents. Um, didn't put much good on tape last night against Tampa. So good luck getting your jobs. But
it was an
yeah, Philly.
uninspired performance. That's for sure.
That was terrible, and I think Sirianni. He's a Paisan, but I think Sirianni should be discussed as well. Frankly, to not, if they even competed in that game last night, I would have said no. But nobody wanted to be out there last night. Everybody went out and played, and they played like they knew they were going to lose, and they were trying not to get hurt. That's how they played last night.
Yeah,
It
I
was
think
terrible.
you got two very different scenarios when it comes to the Cowboys and Eagles games. The Cowboys game, you got a team that just got really tight.
Stunned.
If you want to
Yeah.
work the word, you want to use the word choked, but they just got really tight, and it's like, oh no, it's happening again. But
Yeah.
that was a very
It's
talented
a
team that
self-fulfilling
performed
prophecy.
really well. I mean, to me, as much as it pains me to say it, that's probably the second best roster in the NFC in Dallas, right? If you look at just pure talent on the field, right? I mean, with a Micah Parsons and a Lamb as a
Might
receiver,
be
and I
the
know
best.
Dak, has his moments, but he's a solid performer. But yeah, but then the Eagles, you're right. It just looked like I don't know, they didn't want to be there. It's just a bad vibe right now in Philly,
What
and you
cons-
love to see it. You love to see it.
I would love to see it. What concerns me the
Yeah,
most about the Eagles is Hurts has not looked himself all year, and he
no,
looked bad. He's continued to look well. Maybe he's looked himself. Maybe he had a little bit of an insanity run the year before. We don't know what Jalen
yeah,
Hurts is right now. That's what
yeah.
scares me because he just
That's
signed a
crazy.
massive contract. Um,
Yeah, but
Scary,
I think it also goes to show that it takes a team. There's not.
100%.
I don't know. I think there's one or two guys in the league that can truly put the team on his back. I think Mahomes can do it, and I think
Allen.
on occasion Josh Allen has that type of talent. I think also I should say I do think that Lamar
Lamar.
Lamar can do it. But I think with Jalen, I think he's an excellent quarterback. I love his attitude. I love his demeanor, but he needs help. That he needs a running game that's consistent. He needs receivers that don't drop the ball.
Yeah.
He needs good schemes, to get players open. But anyway, I think why don't we get into our picks for this week, because we got to bounce back a little bit from that first wild card. That was a tough week, tough bunch of games to pick. Lots of upsets, lots of unexpected results.
We
But
picked the
let's see.
correct
Let's see if
winners.
we can do better this week.
Yeah, we picked the correct winners in most of those games. The spreads just got us, which will happen.
Well, yeah, the spread got
Um,
us in the pit. We did pick Pittsburgh to cover, which was a bad
yeah,
choice.
and I think the spread got us in the Lions game as well. Um, would be my guess. I'd have to look at what the spread was, but that game was tighter than we thought it was going to be. Um, anyways, so right now the leaderboard for the brackets. I'm not going to go through every game, but the leaderboard for the brackets we have what I have 4 points, and our Boston Insider has 4 points, and Pop and at Wilson27 on Twitter both have 3 points. Um,
Yeah, I think the good news is that you and I both have all of our divisional
all
playoff
of our teams left, yeah,
winners still alive, whereas the Boston Insider had the Dolphins, as
yeah,
a winner next week, and uh, at Wilson 27 had the Cowboys. So, we've got a chance to make up some ground there. And I think there's a separation with you where, I have the Chiefs going to the AFC Championship and you have the Bills. So that could, be a separator for the two of us. So, yeah,
could be a big one,
it's going to be fun to see how that works out. But next week, I think is
definitely.
going to be pivotal to see who wins brackets chances. So we got a couple of guest participants with which we love. A couple of our loyal listeners didn't participate. A little disappointed in y'all. Um, you know, um, Ravens
What are you gonna
Insider
do?
gets a pass. He's on his honeymoon.
On the
We'll
other
give him
side
a
of the
pass
world,
for this, but you got to do better in the future.
yeah. I don't know, but I give him a half pass. A half pass. Come
I'm with
on,
you.
man. It take 30 seconds to edit a little PDF on your phone to send it back. Oh, it's
Yeah,
not that hard. No,
yeah.
no, he gets a pass, but it's a half. It's a half. With the amount I've been texting him about football, I know he's
I
tapped in
heard.
enough.
So we still got
Um,
the bottom picks to do against the spread. Why don't we
yeah,
run through those real quick? Because we could change our mind week to week. Rockets are locked in, but we get a different vibe and we want to change our mind for the Bada. We can do that. So let's pick
Yeah,
these divisional playoff games against the spread, son. Take us
there
through
you
it.
go. So you got Saturday 4:30. You have the Texans at the Ravens. What do you like, Pop?
Yeah,
Ravens are
it's a
seven and
big
a half point
spread.
favorites. Excuse me.
It's a big spread, but I'm going to stick chalk here and take Ravens. I think that I think they're going to take care of business. And Texans are looking scary though.
Yeah, this is a tough one. This is a tough one because there are questions about the Ravens and when they get that amount of rest, and what Lamar has done in the playoffs has been as a whole underwhelming. That's a lot of points, but I feel like if the Ravens win, they're going to blow the doors off the Texans. But if the Texans win, it'll probably be a squeaker. Um, so it's hard to pick. I'm going to pick the Texans to cover just because that's a big spread, and I can kind of zag on you a bit here. Um, yeah, I'm going to take the Texans to cover there just because it's a big spread, and I think that Texans offense will at least get enough going to cover that. I'm a little
The
concerned about
Ravens
their defense,
defense is
but
pretty good.
it is. It is. This is the final test for the final boss for Bobby Slowick, and whether or not he's ready to be a head coach, which I think he is. But Saturday, 8:15, Packers at 49ers. 49ers, 8.5 point favorites. I'm going to take the Packers to cover this one. What do you like, Pop?
I'm going to stick with the Niners.
All right.
I don't like these big spreads necessarily, but
No, I don't like these big
yeah,
spreads at all.
But I also think that I think there's maybe a common thread with the Texans and Packers as they were the home team, and they had a real excited
Packers were not the
crowd.
home team.
Huh? Oh, that's right.
Packers went to Dallas. Packers were the 7th seed.
I don't know what I was
Texans,
thinking
yes.
there.
You're
I
probably
had
maybe you're thinking of the Lions.
a little bit of
But
travel
all good. It's
jet
all
lag
good. It's
going
all
on
good.
there. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I'm just going with the Niners. I'm going with the Niners.
You can't get this anywhere else, guys. Come on. Uh, you got
They felt like the
Buck.
home team because the way
They
they
did.
played and their crowd represented in
Well,
Dallas.
they
So
should.
maybe that's why I had that. Maybe
I
it's
mean,
it's a low key diss against the Cowboys.
pretty quick way to feel like the home team is to come out and go up 21-0. That'll take the crowd
That's
out of the
right.
game pretty quick.
That's right.
That's because we couldn't hear any Cowboys fans. That's why we thought the Packers were at home. Bucks at Lions on Sunday, 3 o'clock. Lions 6.5 point favorites. What do you like,
Yeah, I
Pop?
like that one's under a touchdown. I just think I think the Bucks they gave it all they had in that first round game. They took advantage of an Eagles team that's going away. They were the home team,
Yeah,
but I like the Lions. I like the Lions in this one.
they were. The Bucks were the home team. That's a good pull, Pop. I'm going to take the Lions there. The Lions are. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm like really rethinking not picking the Lions to get to the dance. The Lions are just they're hot at the right time of
There
the
you
year.
go.
Like
There
what's
you
going on there.
go.
You guys know
Getting
I
ahead of your skis.
got a little bit of a man crush on Dan Campbell, but I'm gonna just take the Lions here. Keep it moving. Keep it moving.
I think what
You
would you
know,
do if you could go to dinner with Dan Campbell and Caleb Williams?
you know what Dan Campbell. Sorry, before we get into that, and the answer would be order the steak. But before we get into that,
Because
do you know what
speaking of
Dan
man crushes, I think Caleb Williams is on your list too.
Do you know what Dan Campbell drinks in the morning?
Espresso?
He has a cold brew with 2 shots of espresso added to it.
2 shots.
He gets
That's
2 of 'em.
junior level.
You get two large cold brews. You know how much caffeine is in a cold brew? It's more than an espresso. Two large cold brews, and he drinks them throughout the day. They're called black eyes.
Listen, everybody knows coffee
It's
is the
like
drink of champions.
he's like 800 milligrams of caffeine a day. I mean, that guy he could drink a gallon of Panera lemonade and go right
You
to
could
sleep.
probably run through a brick wall.
Oh my
Anyways,
god,
Chiefs and
I
Bills.
know. Chiefs and Bills. Bills are 3 point favorites. I'm gonna roll with the Bills here. Pop probably gonna take the Chiefs.
That's right. You know it.
Yep. Yeah, I think the Chiefs.
That could be a hell of a game.
That's gonna be the game of the
Yeah,
weekend. I think
Bills
that's
are
kind of
rolling, so I don't feel I'm kind of sticking with my bracket pick, sticking with my Chiefs, but I don't feel great about that pick. So
Yeah. So I
yeah,
texted you and I said the Bills could make some noise if they made it into the playoffs. The Bills then became the 2 seed, beat the Dolphins, made it into the playoffs as the 2 seed. Now they host the Chiefs at home. Have they made some noise yet, or would beating the Chiefs would
no,
you
it doesn't.
constitute?
We already established it. They got to make the AFC Championship game.
All right, all
To
right.
to
Well, I'm
to
sticking
to
by.
to, to I'm sticking by that.
I'm sticking by it. I already,
If they go
yeah.
down to the Chiefs at home, that's disappointment for them.
There's
Nothing.
something.
There's nothing short of disappointment in Buffalo about that.
I don't think, given that they were like 6-5, 5-5 at one point in the year, that's disappointing. They were 5-5 at one point.
That's year
I don't
after
think
year.
that,
It's year after year with them, right? I mean, they
but
they
they're
they
hot
were
at the right time,
expected.
man.
They've got high expectations.
That's fair. That's fair. They're hot at the right time. Something seems to be clicking there. Finally, I'm taking Buffalo. Pop's got Kansas City there, and that is it. That is it for our Adam Peters, Jay
That's a
Gruden,
wrap.
Robert Griffin III, Caleb Williams podcast today. We've covered just about everything. Me and Pop. It's a good thing that wasn't an in-person podcast, man. That might have been a tussle at one point earlier.
I'll
Things got heated.
bring it.
Oh man! All right, guys. If you've been with us this long, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, tell your friends. Send us a bracket. We're not going to include you, but send us a bracket for the last weekend.
That'll,
Why not? Send a
that'll
few more.
motivate you.
Send a few more in. We'll include you. We'll include you. You can't win, but we'll include you. We'll read you off if you get the picks. Whatever. Let's wrap this thing up. Without further ado, I've been Dom.
This is Pop.
Thanks for another great weekend.
Baby, oh.